All right, welcome to another episode of the Lost Arkuments podcast. Today is July 25th, 2022. My name is Cyrus, and I'll be your host. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Kioma. Kioma, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, pretty good. Excited to talk about the recent patch and all the
Absolutely.
stuff it brought.
There's a lot to go over here. We are what is it? I think it's about four days post patch. One, two, yeah, we're 4 days post patch. So this was the second summer event patch. Included a whole bunch of stuff, and we can just kind of get straight into it. The first thing is going to be: have you tried the new Arcanist class, and how do you feel about it?
I have not. I've watched some content creators play it. I watched Sneaky play it. If you know who Sneaky is,
No, I'm not
T9
familiar with
Sneaky,
him now.
Cloud9, Cloud9 from League. No, okay.
Mm-mm.
He was playing it. It looks fun. It doesn't look like it does much damage, but maybe they're just not properly geared or something. But it does look fun. It just can't look boring. It doesn't. The animations are kind of they just throw cards at stuff and that's it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's from what I saw. That's pretty much what happened.
So damage wise, there is one thing to comment. I've heard Sane Tone and a couple of the other Korean streamers say that Arcanist is the most expensive class in the entire game to play. So that might be another reason why damage appears to be a little bit low because I guess you kind of have to run both class engravings at the same time, which means like balancing out your character to like kind of maximize DPS is going to be really, really expensive. So that might be why you see kind of lower numbers.
But overall, it looks interesting. Like I said, I haven't touched it, so I can't really comment on it. It looks fine. Um, I don't know. I think it has some RNG in it because you have to like know what the cards do.
Yeah, for
So I
sure.
don't know.
For sure.
So
Yeah, I kind of had a similar feeling about the class. I personally have absolutely no interest in the class. I have no interest in Arcanist, and I also have no interest in Summoner at all. They just do nothing for me. I've seen both classes played previously, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad that there's more classes. I'm always going to celebrate when new classes are released because I know a lot of people are looking forward to those classes, and if it's their main, like good for them. They have their main coming. I'm excited, but personally, I don't really have any interest in the class. And we can kind of talk a little bit about kind of why I'm not interested in the class actually as we get down into some of the other changes in the patch, including the honing stuff. But
sure.
I'll kind of let the cat out of the bag now. All my characters, I have 6 characters that are basically ready to go for raids. So at this point, it's like since the gold cap is on 6 characters for doing raids, there's not really any incentive to create more characters once you've kind of built up your initial roster. And we can kind of talk about that for like future roadmap stuff, but it is going to be interesting as more classes get released, as more and more players fill out those 6 character slots. It's like kind of where do we go from here? You're going to kind of have to not play one of the classes that you've basically spent a lot of time gearing up on if you want to play a new class in raids. I mean, you can play extra classes in raids, I guess, but if you're not getting gold for those raids,
Yeah.
the incentive is like more or less almost entirely gone for playing that character. So,
When you say raid ready, are you talking about 14, 15?
no, 1370. I mean, you can
Okay,
do
okay, okay.
Array
So just
Hahar. You can
Argo.
do you can do Argos, right? It's like the
Argo.
stepping stone.
Okay.
And the big thing about 1370, as a lot of people are finding out right now with the new patch, is that you're going to want to, buy those legendary accessories and try and get, 3x3 engravings or even 4x3 engravings once you get to 1370. And that's really where like you feel a huge power spike for all characters. You don't really want to use the Fions before 1370 because it kind of feels like a
Yes.
waste. But once you get to 1370, you're like, all right, now I'm experiencing the class for what it is. And you can make way more gold doing Argos and Areha hard mode. So like the gold jump like feels significant. So yeah, but we can talk about that kind of in the future roadmap section. But for Arcanist specifically, yeah, not really interested myself. I'm glad people are playing it. I'm glad people love it, but it doesn't really do anything for me.
I know one person from my friend group that's trying it out. So
There you
he says he likes it so far. So
go. Okay. I have seen a lot of people using the Power Pass and the Hyper Express to take an Arcanist all the way to 1370. We can talk about those things a little bit later, but it's good to see that they have something to get some new players on the new class up to a place where they can kind of play the class comfortably at least, because otherwise if that wasn't there, like I know a lot of people feel for Destroyer since there wasn't a pass that launched
that's
them
true.
up if you didn't save that Phaeton pass, that a lot of people just passed over Destroyer entirely. And again, we'll get to that a little bit later. I'll give some updated feelings on Destroyer, but people are missing out on a good class. Let's just say that much. All right, the next thing that was kind of another major sort of selling point of this patch was the introduction of our first Inferno mode. Yes, Hell Mode Vaulton has arrived on the NA Global client. And what do you think, man? What are your thoughts so far?
I unfortunately have not touched it. I haven't seen anyone stream it either, so it's weird. I just haven't had time because of the honing buffs. I've been just getting my ults to
Yeah,
1370 and beyond.
yeah.
Just basically just farming ults and doing my main. I haven't touched it yet. I do want to touch it, but it's gonna be tough to find a group for it. I haven't. Is there like a party finder thing for it? Because I didn't see any.
So there is a party finder thing for it. But I've actually I found out that Sane Tone actually, I guess, started, or his community started, a Hell Mode Discord specifically for people trying to find parties to do Hell Modes. So I think that's a good thing. That's probably what I'll do. I unfortunately ran into kind of the same problem you did. It's only been 4 days since the patch, and turns out I kind of had a busy weekend, so I have not been able to sit down and do Hell Mode yet. I've been looking forward to it since the game launched and even before launch, so I'm kind of bummed that I haven't gotten to try it yet. But it's definitely something that I'm interested in. It's definitely something I'm looking forward to. I have kind of heard a little bit of feedback from some players on Hell Mode, and that feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. So I guess the people that are doing it think it's absolutely amazing. They love it. They love progressing on it, which makes me just even more excited to check it out. The one sort of comment that I did have though is they didn't make any changes for the consumables. So you do have to bring your own potions. You do have to bring your own battle items. And while Amazon has been incredibly generous up to this point, giving us just a crazy amount of potions and battle items, yeah, you're going to run through those real quick when you start doing Inferno mode and start progging on Inferno mode. So kind of a bummer that there's a big gold investment really to get going on it, but at least the rest of the gear and stuff is equalized so that you can kind of jump in. But um, I don't know how bad that gold hit is going to be. But I'll see, I guess, when I jump into it and start giving it attempts.
Yeah, I'll get into it eventually. Just been, like I said, working on my ults. The new
Yeah.
bounty buffs make me want to like everything at
Oh man.
1370.
Yeah, we will
Yeah.
talk about that. That is definitely an exciting thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that you and I will actually run Hell Mode together and maybe do some prog on that. I think that'll be really fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to it. Can't wait for it. All right, the next thing in the patch here is the Maharaka Festival and the Water Pop Arena. What are your thoughts so far on that? I know you've tried that at least.
I thought it would be more fun. I'll be perfectly honest. I want the Korean server event. That looks a lot more fun than the one where what we got. We got an area that has no activities just for that one quest where you just go around doing the
Yeah.
things with that guy, and then the Super Soaker event in the middle, which is fine. But I did it once and I didn't do it again. Unfortunately, it was not a hit for me. I appreciate the events, the rewards, the exchange shop though. That was great, but
Yeah.
the event itself was kind of boring.
So I don't know how you and I have had absolutely identical experiences with the patch so far, but it seems like we've had identical experiences. I'm in the exact same boat. I was super excited that there was this whole island. Like I show up at the island, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to see all the things that I can do here. This is so cool. It's a whole island instead of just like this tiny little piece of an existing zone. So I hop in and it's like one quest chain and I'm like, okay, when am I going to unlock all the cool stuff in here? And then there isn't anything at all. And I did the water fight thing one time, and the rewards were lackluster for doing that event, and it's only every 2 hours.
2
And I
hours,
was like,
yes.
this can't be all that it is, really. And I think that's all that it is. So
It is all that it is.
I was pretty disappointed. I will say props to Amazon for the rewards. I thought that was really cool that they gave us another one of the Macoco boards. They gave us another one of the animal skins. So pretty cool that they're throwing some of the cosmetic stuff into the rewards. I'd like to see more of that as opposed to kind of previously it was all just like kind of honing stuff and then a couple like card packs and stuff like that. But I like that they're throwing in some avatars, some some different wards like that. I think that's really cool. And I'm just glad that I can collect the event coins from doing Chaos Dungeons
Yes,
and Guardian Raids, because that means I don't have
that's
to go
how
back to that island and do that stupid event anymore. I was
that,
really
that's how.
disappointed. I'm going to throw it back all the way to Naruni Racing. It's totally spoiled me for Lost Ark events because I thought they were all going to be kind of that caliber. And since
Hmm.
then, that's been the best one. So I'm kind of like, are we going to ever gonna get another cool event? Or, you
I
know,
know the Korean server currently has like a Fall Guys type of event, which looks super
yeah,
fun.
that looks super fun.
That
But
looks super fun. I
but
don't
we
know why
didn't
I
get
didn't
that.
get it. We didn't get that, but hopefully we'll get it next year. But it looks super fun. But yeah, totally lackluster. I was so excited for the event, the island. They
Same.
advertised it a lot, but then
I know.
the, was the quest itself was boring, and then just kind of had to. And the Super Soaker event was like did it one time, like okay, that's interesting. I'm not gonna do it again. You get like 200
Yeah.
things every 2 hours. If it was every hour, I might have done it more, but
I
I
know.
would just rather do Chaos Dungeons and
I was just really surprised that there's nothing else to do on that island. I mean, surely there could have been some like Easter eggs to like figure out, or like a couple other events to do there, or like even quest chains, or like even some stupid like. There's so many things that you can do. It seems bizarre to me that they create that entire thing only to have 1 2 hour event. It's not like people are like hanging out there. It's not like the music is super cool or anything. It's kind of meh. I just I'm a little disappointed in it so far.
me too.
Okay, all right. The next thing in the patch is the challenge Abyssal dungeons. So, did you experience that yet?
I have. They were easy, of course, because even if you're over leveled or them or whatever, memorialize the fights, you still pretty much get over gear everything.
Yeah.
It was fun going back and doing dungeons I haven't done since the start of the game.
Hmm.
So that was pretty fun. I haven't done any of those bosses in such a long time. That was like, oh yeah, what does this guy do again? And it was some hijinks occurred with my friends when I did it, so that was fun.
Oh, that's cool.
But and if they change it every week, if they change it every week, I appreciate it. Just fun going back and doing stuff like that. See how the first few dungeons were like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting really, but it was pretty underwhelming. Um, I maybe the group that I had too was also too good, but we absolutely steamrolled the two dungeons. It felt like in 10 minutes we were done, and I was like, wow, that was so underwhelming. I'll be honest, I was expecting maybe like new attacks from the bosses, like a couple new attack patterns to have to learn, and maybe have the windows be a little tighter on some abilities or some timings and stuff like that. And I found that to just be completely not the case. We just absolutely steamrolled it with the party that we had. And
Hmm.
all I could think was, I'm so glad that this is the tier 1 Abyssal Dungeons and not the tier 2 Abyssal Dungeons. And I also thought, man, how much am I going to loathe going back and doing these tier 2 Abyssal Dungeons, which seem to
The
be
the, the
exactly the
Brashaza
same.
one.
And
You think it's about like the Brashaza ones here
oh,
too,
no, no,
right?
no, I'm thinking the underwater ones. I just like,
Those are like. Oh, you mean tiered? Okay, those are
yeah,
like the
yeah.
960 ones. I'm talking about the
Oh, you're talking
four
about the Rohandel. Yeah, yeah.
Rohindale
Questline.
ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those won't be so bad, and the Yorn ones won't be so bad. But man, once we get to those the Phaeton ones, I'm just gonna be. I already know it's not gonna be a fun time.
Is it gonna be 8?
Yeah,
Do they
probably.
only
I
do
think.
4 man
I
then, or
think.
can they be 8
Oh,
ones
maybe
too?
it's only 4 mans, which means they wouldn't include the Phaeton
Yeah.
ones. Which I mean, that would be way better. I'm definitely down for that.
Hmm.
I will say, the one thing that I really liked is I love that the rewards are card focused. Um, the card system in this game, frankly, totally sucks. I mean, it's
Yes.
terrible. And
RNG.
yeah, it's all RNG, and it takes so much to get like that 30 Light of Salvation card set, and any amount of help that we're gonna get to get us there sooner. I'm all about. I love that they're one of the possible rewards is a selectable card pack, and I love that it goes into like the loot lottery. So if you get lucky and you like have a mega whale in your party, and like that selectable card pack comes up, you can just like jack the price up and like make a bunch of gold out of it. It's stupid, but it's fun that it's there. I think it's cool. But yeah, I really like that the focus is sort of like cards and like helping us getting our card dex or whatever you want to call it
Yeah.
up to speed a little bit quicker. I think that's a good call for the rewards, especially after the challenge guardians were so many like honing mats. I was like, well, I'm kind of hoping that it's not just a bunch of honing mats again because we already have that, and I'd like to see. I talked in the last podcast about how I kind of wanted some of the rewards to be focused on like different aspects of the game, and I even mentioned one of them being cards. Like we should have a card event. So to have the challenge Abyssal dungeons be sort of card focused for the rewards, I just think it's a good thing. I like that.
I agree. I didn't get those legendary select card packs, or is there a legendary one?
We didn't get one in my group, but you can
Yeah.
either get a random legendary card pack, or you can get a selectable legendary card pack. And you
Yeah,
can just
I didn't
imagine
get any
like
of those. I saw
if
people post. I'm like, wait, I didn't get that.
if you
And
get
I
yeah
guess
if you get a couple people who like really need that selectable card pack, I can just see that loot lottery just going like through the moon. It's pretty cool.
yeah,
All right, the
it
next
was.
thing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Overall, it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. It'll switch up every week, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good thing because I think it's.
By the way,
I think we're going to
the
get tired of it pretty quick.
yeah, maybe, but the challenge guardians this week were kind of brutal. Um,
Yeah,
I
we
think
had
it was
Velganos.
Velganos, and
Yeah,
then I guess he was the most brutal one. The other ones weren't too
Titalos
bad.
and Velganos.
Yeah, so Volcanos was fun.
How did yours go?
Like I said, I did it with my friend, so it took like a
Okay.
couple, like maybe 2 or 3 tries, but I forgot how punishing that guy is.
Yeah.
I used a
Yeah.
lot of pots, unfortunately. It was
We well, and
kind of,
I found out doing that fight that you can't go back to the home base and get more pots.
yeah.
So I had kind of a fun experience actually doing it. We did I found a party and we did like the three guardians. First two didn't really give us any trouble. Third one, it's like, yeah, you're like, oh man, I forgot how difficult this fight is when you're not soloing it. When you're soloing
Mm-mm.
it, it's not too bad. You learn all the patterns, you learn how to move around, but like when there's other people involved and they're kind of like messing you up and messing the patterns up and like stealing your light buffs and stuff like
Yeah,
that, you're like, oh man, this is actually a pretty challenging fight. So mine was pretty fun. I used basically like all my health potions like through the fight. We get him like through the different phases. I'm throwing pheromones to keep him in place, and we're having a couple deaths. And then eventually we get down to there's just me and another guy in that like red in the enrage
yeah,
phase. And we're
yeah.
fighting for a while, and we're fighting for a while, and the other guy dies, and it's just me. And I'm like, oh man, this is getting rough. And then I get all the way down to use my last potion, and he's still not dead. And I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to have to redo this whole fight. And I get smacked down to under 10,000 health. So I am like an absolute sliver of health left. And like right as that health was that low, I was looking at my awakening timer and it's like ticking down 3, 2, 1, and I hit with my awakening and crit and killed him. It was super
Nice.
fun. It was like one of those epic moments. I mean, it's just Velganos, but I was like,
Yes.
hey, that was actually pretty fun. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was a fun time. Yeah. Okay.
All
Sorry.
right,
I
the
just wanted to
next thing is this is a big topic. Now, this one's actually a pretty exciting thing. We can get into the ins and outs of it, but this is the Punica Pass. We got a free Punica Pass that takes your character all the way to 1302. Skip all of the story except for South Vern up to that point, which is huge. But most importantly, there was an additional event that went alongside this, and that was the Hyper Pass Express, which basically takes a character all the way to 1370 almost instantly. What are
Yes.
your thoughts?
I loved it. I created a brand new gun lancer. I Punica passed it. I hyper express evented. I got him to 1370 in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
And then once you and the since the reward chest they give you for finishing the hyper express event is so good.
So good.
Oh my god, so good. I used most of that to get my paladin to 1430, my sorc to 1400. It was ridiculous with those books. Most importantly, those books they gave you. The
Yeah.
honing
Yeah,
that
those
gives you
honing
twenty
buffs are
percent.
super juiced. Yeah.
The honing books they give you 20%. Oh, it made everything so much easier.
Yep.
And I appreciate what they did, and I liked how easy it was to just finish the express event in like 20 minutes. Because every step of the way they give you the match to do it,
Right.
and it was super easy compared to the last hyper express event where you had to do like certain missions and it's like time gated with how many chaos dungeons and how many guardian raids you have to do,
Yeah, that was a
stuff
pain in
like
the butt.
that. Yes, it was. So I appreciated this event so much. I know a lot of people who came back to the game because of the Punica Pass and the
Yeah.
Hyper Express event and
Yeah,
the honing buff.
absolutely.
We'll get to that. So we got a few people back, so that's really a good thing. And people are having fun again, so that's and people are less angry about honing because
Exactly. That's the most important thing, man. So what does your roster look like now? Your gunslinger is like 1490, and then what's the rest of your roster look like?
Before the Express Power event, it was just my gunslinger at 1490
Right.
plus. I had a paladin at 13 before the Express event, at about 1400.
Okay.
I had a Circ around 1385. I had a Glavier at 11 like 960,
Okay.
and then that was it. So I only had four characters. Three I was actually using. One I was using for do the station at the stronghold, the
Yeah. Yeah.
dispatch, using as the guardian stuff for that.
Right.
But once the bus came out, like I said, I created a new gun lancer, which I love, and then I put him to he's 1370 right now.
Cool.
I don't know how I might put him up later, but then I use since the honing bus happened with the tier 2 and the tier 3, I
Right.
got my Glavier up to 1370.
How do you feel about the Gladiator? Do you like the Gladiator?
I like it. I know you don't really do that big damage, but maybe I'm just not strong enough, or maybe I don't have the right relic set, stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I find it fun. I like the chaos dungeons with it because it's pretty fun to like whirlwind everything to death. Right now I've used it for guardian like for Yoho and just the guardian
Mm-hmm.
chaos dungeons, which is fine. I enjoy it so
Yeah.
far. Hopefully, I hope it does more damage. Like I said, I do notice the low damage. I love its awakening skill. It's just so
Yeah.
satisfying.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I like to do on it.
Okay.
I
And
love
then how
Gunlancer though. I
how do you
love
feel about
Gunlancer.
Gunlancer? Yeah, I was gonna ask you that
I
next.
love Gunlancers. The
Yeah.
fact you can just have it shield the entire fight is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And there's so much it has so much stagger. Oh my, I didn't realize until I played it that how much stagger it has.
Yeah, I've been
And
playing a destroyer and it has even more stagger than that, and it's wild how much stagger you're doing with those two
yeah,
classes.
it's fun. I enjoy it. So I don't like
Cool.
to slow the backstep because ugh, but I'll get used to it.
Cool, man. Yeah.
Have you done seen the Gunlancer backflip? It's slowest back for
Yeah.
like 5 meters and then that's it.
Yeah.
It's it goes backwards too. So you have to turn your character around before you backstep.
Yep.
If you want to avoid something, it's so dumb. But
Yeah, I imagine doing Vicus, that second gate where you're having to run between the three gates. I imagine
oh my
that's
gosh.
gonna be an adventure on Destroyer and Gun Lancer because
Oh, are you
those
slow too?
classes move so,
Oh
dude,
yeah.
you move so slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of had a similar experience with getting my characters all to 1370. So my main is at 1505 now, so it's 21 all the way across the board.
I saw.
It
Are you
feels
gonna stay? Are you gonna stay there? Just gonna
so.
you're done.
I keep going back and forth on whether I'm not. The suggestion from the Korean players is to try and get to 1510 or even 1515 by the time Belshazzar comes out, so that on week one of Belshazzar, you can clear the first four gates because it's like two separate. There's
Yeah.
like it's three phases, and there's two basically fights in each phase. So if you go through the phase 1 and phase 2, you'll have enough materials to upgrade one piece to Belshazzar gear, and then that'll take you down to like whatever plus 12. Like if you had a plus 20 piece, it'll take you down to plus 12, and then you can upgrade that a few times. But since you only have one piece, you can probably get 7.5 or 10 item levels out of that kind of the first week. So you really need to be about 15, 10, 15, 12, somewhere kind of in there, so that on week one, with that one Belshazzar piece, you can get all the way to 15, 20 to do the last two fights of Belshazzar. So I'd really like to do the whole of Belshazzar on week one. I know it's super, super difficult,
Yeah.
but I don't even know if I'm going to clear the whole thing, but I want to see it all, or at least push as far as I can in that first week, which means, yeah, I think I'm probably going to go for another 2, maybe 3, or even 4 upgrades. But since we don't even have Kakul Sadon announced yet, I'm not expecting Belshazzar for probably 3 months minimum.
hmm
Maybe even like 4 months. So I figure if I just kind of take it slow, and believe me, the upgrades, holy moly, after you hit
Oh yeah.
21, the plus 22 upgrades and higher, they're 1% upgrades. So they're
Yeah.
1% upgrades. You can get up to 2%. And then if you use all of the solars, you can get up to 3%. And the requirements for every single click are insane. I mean, it's so expensive for every click that you do. So it really feels bad upgrading past 1505. So that's why I think even though I want to see that Belshazzar stuff, I may actually stop at 1505 just because it's so punishing to upgrade there. But
My big thing is the gold cost and the silver
it's,
cost. I just don't
dude,
have enough for it, so that's why I'm leaving every. I have
good.
my I'm at 1492. My 20. I have a 21 weapon.
Yeah.
And I thought about getting 20. Everyone's 21. I'm like, maybe it's just not worth it.
I think
So
it's
I've been
I
holding
think
that
it
right
is
now.
worth it if you want to do because I think the first two phases of Belshazzar are 1490, and then I believe the second two phases of Belshazzar are 1500. So it's only 10 gear score, which is only 4 upgrades. So my understanding is that the recommendation really is to try and hit that threshold so you can do the first two phases. But again, there's no rush. I mean, we
Yeah,
are
there's no rush.
months away from that content getting released. So yeah, I kind of agree with you because there's so many things to spend gold on, especially with new characters like popping up to 1370 with the honing changes. It's like, man, I think my main can just kind of wait for a while and I'll focus on the other stuff for now. So yeah, I'm sort of doing a similar thing. I've kind of stopped honing on my main there, and then I have a Berserker at 1415. I just wanted to be able to do Volton. He's probably going to be my
I
next character that I'm going to push up to 1430 so I can do Vicus on him as well. But ultimately, I want to get into 1445 so you can get, relic sets. So it's kind of finding the thresholds is sort of like an interesting thing right now.
yeah.
I guess really what you want to do is you want to get all of your alts to 1460. But I mean, that's obviously like that's quite the endeavor to get like multiple characters up that high. And then I basically have 4 characters that are at 1370. I had a striker and a deathblade already at 1370 before the patch, and then I used the Hyper Express to take a destroyer to 1370, and then my Glavier was like 2 upgrades away from 1370, so I got her there. And so yeah, I have the roster of 6 characters at 1370 or higher, which again, like I alluded to before, it's going to be kind of interesting that future classes means like I'll probably drop one of these characters, and we can talk a little bit more about like which characters are good and which characters we're not liking so much kind of a little bit later, but when we talk about kind of the future roadmap stuff. But yeah, it is something to kind of think about as they start giving out like more Punica passes. Those just going to be dead and you won't even use them on your account because you already have characters that are that high? It's like we are probably going to run into things like that. So I actually didn't use the Punica Pass, as it turns out. I just used
Oh.
the Hyper Express Pass. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's move on to the next thing in the patch here, and that is the Macoco challenge. So that's like the little sprout thing. It's very similar to Final Fantasy 14. They have like the sprout thing, I guess it's called, and the Macoco challenge. I guess it gives you like a little bit of damage buff. It gives you some damage reduction. And it kind of just lets other players know that you're either new or returning. Have you seen anybody running around with that little
Yes,
icon yet?
I have one of my friends who came back.
Oh, cool.
She was in tier 2, and then she came back. So she has the spray on. It helps, especially on like sport classes. It just do more damage.
Mm-hmm.
It just helps you progress through the story a lot faster and
For
easier, which
sure.
is
Yeah.
always a good thing. Other than that, I haven't really noticed because
Yeah,
I've
it's not
everything.
really going to affect us very much, but again, like anything that's going to help new players, I'm all about because the game, especially before the honing changes, was so punishing for a new player to get in. In fact, we had talked about just that. I think it was like 2 podcasts ago. We were like, what does the new player experience look like right now in Lost Ark? And it is brutal. Like it's so much work to get up to like the raid level. So anything that kind of helps new players, and some of those T1 and T2 Guardians have so much health because they got buffed in our version that anything that does more damage, I'm like, yes, absolutely. Especially because some of those Guardians are an absolute nightmare. Like,
Hmm.
like not Yoho. What's the Fire Fox? What's the Fire Fox I'm called? That one is just absolutely brutal. And anything that reduces damage on that one, yeah, I'm like all about it. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's always a good thing. Anything that helps new players get catch up mechanics, stuff like that. It's really great. Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
thought.
the next thing in the patch notes here, and we already really kind of talked about it a bunch, but we'll just give kind of specifics, is the honing update that we've been talking about. Yeah, tier 1 and tier 2 now have 100% success on hones, and you get 2 levels for every hone instead of 1. There's also a like I think it's a 30% reduction in the amount of XP needed to do your upgrades. And then the big thing as well is the cost of actually doing the upgrades as far as mats and gold was reduced by 50%. And that just means you can fly through T1 and T2. I mean, it's like, it's crazy how fast you go through them. You can skip almost all the content, especially if you have characters that are like already high enough that they can kind of feed some mats into your alts. Like you just absolutely fly through that. And then the tier 3 honing buffs from 1302 up to 1370, you get 20% increased chance on all hones across the board. And then you get that same XP reduction and cost reduction for performing upgrades. And as we've already talked about here, we basically, there's almost no reason to not get your characters to 1370 at this point, yeah?
Yep. I know a lot of people came back because of this buff. People were up. I know some people quit at tier 2 because the honing rates were, they just kept failing and they just got angry and they quit. I'm not sure if this should have been in the game a lot earlier. I think it should have.
I kind of agree.
Or even at the start, but you know, that's kind of, maybe I don't know too much, but it brought a lot of people back, and people are having more fun with the game now. So,
I really think this should have come out about. It should have come out when Argos was released, in my opinion, because or a month after Argos. Basically, let people who went really hard at the game get kind of that first month on Argos, but then I really think the next patch after that should have been catching people up so they can experience that content. It's great all the way around. I'm super excited about it. I do know that there's one more honing patch that we will get that Korea already has, and that is basically the 1370 upgrades will go all the way to 1415. So you'll be that next sort of dead zone. You'll be able to get kind of all of your characters up to Vaultin kind of for free, which again, I think is a great thing. I'm all about it. I can't wait for that. I think that's going to be a really cool thing. But yeah, there have been some interesting side effects of throwing this many 1370 characters just into the player base.
And
Yoho
takes forever.
One of the so I guess the big one is that matchmaking on Night Fox Yoho is a disaster currently. I've seen multiple people with basically no engravings in full blue equipment, and they just die over and over, and it just, my God, it puts
the Abyssal dungeons as well.
Yeah, it's all of it, man. It puts so much pressure on the other character or on the other players to like kind of
carry people.
Yeah, have to carry these people who have not really put in any effort into these 1370 characters and are just trying to get carried on like Argos and Areha and Night Fox Yoho. Yeah, it's been very, very interesting. And the other side effect that's worth talking about is the prices on legendary accessories are back up. I mean, there was a point where it's like almost not even worth trying to sell any of the legendary accessories because they just weren't really worth anything outside of it being like a perfect like grudge something combo. Yeah. But now like you can actually sell accessories again. And since you have so many characters at 1370, you can actually find items to sell again. And it feels pretty good. It's like, it feels like the gold making experience is there. But then on the flip side, you're thinking about like, well, I really want to get 4x3 engravings on my 1370s, and that will cost you some gold. So it's cool that like the legendary accessory market is like alive again. Like everybody's participating in it. And I think it's good, just like overall, even if it's sometimes a headache, I think it's good for the game.
I like it, but I just can't stand the Phaon system. It just makes me not want to spend gold or buy gold on to gear my alts, stuff like that. It's just so punishing. It just doesn't make sense.
It is. It's brutal. It's brutal. But I have been thinking about it quite a bit. I have all 6 of my characters now are 4x3 engravings, and yes, it cost me some gold to get Phaons to get those accessories. But then I also started thinking about it after the fact. It's like once you have those characters that are at that kind of engraving level, you don't really need Phaons anymore at that point. It's like, yes, I'll need Phaons once I switch from legendary to relic gear. But it's almost like that's going to be some time from now. And like, I think Amazon will give us more Phaons based on like login events and, you know, event quests and rewards and stuff like that, that I don't think it's going to be quite so brutal. I think it is brutal right now because of the honing changes. Because so many people got to 1370 so quickly and on multiple characters that it's like an overwhelming amount of fions that you need just right in this one moment. But I think this is kind of a one-time pain point for a lot of people. So yes, it does suck, and I'm not defending that system. I think it's terrible. However, I do think it's not going to be something that we're just like constantly being like, man, this is still so horrible. It's like this is kind of a one-time pain point, and I think it'll be not quite as bad moving into
That's
the future.
fair.
All right. Next thing that's on the patch notes here is new restrictions for gold buying. Now, this is kind of an interesting one here. So, I guess when you buy gold now, I mean, I don't buy any gold because I'm not doing that in this game. But so I guess now when you buy gold, there's a 3-day hold before you actually get your gold on the credit card purchases for gold in the in-game store. And we had a little bit of a conversation right when the patch notes landed, like, what is this and why is this here? But I guess the reason for this change is they've been having a ton of trouble with chargebacks. So
Yeah.
people will charge for a whole boatload of gold, and they'll call their credit card company and claim that it was fraudulent charges or something and get the charges reversed. And Amazon is then making no money for those purchases, but the player has already spent all that gold in game, and basically in order to combat fraud, they're putting this hold on gold purchases. But kind of an interesting thing to see here, don't you think so?
Yes. I know it's to combat that fraud and chargeback for credit cards, but it doesn't just apply to the gold you get from the buying credit cards. It includes like skins you buy you can't sell for 3 days. It's everything you can
Oh,
buy
I
in the
didn't know
shop.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I guess they don't want you to spend that gold royal crystals and buy skins and then sell it. It's basically the same thing as gold, I guess.
Right.
So that's why 3 day on it. I don't like it, but I guess it's something they have to do, so people just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
I think it's dumb, but it's whatever. It's punishing the whole community for just a few bad apples. I thought they'd have better system for chargeback, but I guess they don't.
Yeah, I kind of
Um,
agree, and I think unfortunately I think this pushes people towards RMTing as well
yeah. Oh
like
yes.
if you need gold right now, instead of waiting 3 days, you could just go be a
Mhm.
G2G enjoyer and just get that gold immediately. So it's like I see why they're doing it, because obviously the bottom line is the most important thing, and if they're getting charged back that much, they're like, screw it, we'll take a loss as long as we're sure that we're getting the money that we're getting. But yeah, kind of unfortunate, especially with like Steam being a thing and the game going through Steam. I just, it feels weird. It feels like this, there's got to be a better, way to manage this than that. But I mean, you know, at least things are being done and they're trying things. There were also a number of other provisions there based on some gold things and botting accounts things and stuff like that in the patch notes. So, they are doing more things. They are trying to combat this problem. And that kind of that sort of segues nicely into the next thing that I was going to say about this. And that is the bot problem is significantly better than it's basically ever been at this point. So it's like, while the gold buying hold might be kind of a weird thing, um, the evidence is that whatever they're doing is working, and that's fantastic. I mean, I created a post on Reddit just last week, basically congratulating Amazon, saying, "Hey, listen, I was one of your biggest critics on how you've been handling the bot problem this up to this point. I mean, anybody who's listened to the podcast has heard me just absolutely lambaste them on this. But I basically put up a post that said, "Hey, you guys seem to have fixed US West." I mean, I took a screenshot of all 7 US West servers at good server health, and this was at 4 p.m. on a Saturday when I was expecting servers to just be packed full of people because a patch had just been released. Like, good on them. I mean, I'll give credit where it's due, man. Like, good on them. What they've been working on fixing this thing. I'm impressed that they've done it so effectively in such a short amount of time, and kudos to them. I don't think I've seen hardly any bots anymore in the game. What's your experience been like?
I still see a couple, maybe not like a couple bots going in here and there, but
Hmm.
you don't see waves of bots
Yeah.
anymore, like actual waves of bots. So that's good. I've not had any login issues in the past 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
So
no
at
queues. No queues in
no
a whole
queues
month.
at all.
Yeah.
Yes. I know they banned a lot of the bots, so that's why the player count's like hovering around like 150 to 200k now, which is
Yeah.
fine. But at least we know they're play. Well, most of them are players, so
Right.
that's always a good deal. I like I said, I don't know what they did, but it's working. I just hope they continue doing it. So I have to give them major props for that because people are calling in because people like I said, a lot of people came back for the fact and they noticed they don't log in queues anymore, which is one of the reasons they quit again
Yeah.
because when it was really bad for like 12k 15k queues, they
Yeah.
just stopped playing because they couldn't
Right.
log in. So
Right.
so it just I appreciate what they did and hopefully they continue battling in bots.
Yeah, I totally feel the same way. Kind of on the topic of servers, though, I would be remiss to say it's not all perfect, because I don't know that there's a great voice right now for the EU West players, but the EU West data center is a an absolute mess, and I feel for those players. I've seen some posts talking about how the servers are like almost entirely dead. They can't even complete events because there's not enough players. They can't do raids because there's not enough players to do raids. I mean, it's an absolute ghost town, and listen, 20 years of playing MMOs and playing online games, it's like I knew at the beginning of the game there were going to be a ton of people trying to play, and then people would quit eventually, and creating another data center I don't know was the right answer, unless long term there's a way to consolidate data centers, but unfortunately I don't know that there really is. So I don't know what the right solution here is. I mean, I'm really
Uh,
hoping they offer free server transfers, or I think what they really should do is basically um,
Merge.
merge data centers, like whatever that looks like. It's gonna be a tedious process most likely, but I think at this point you just have to. I mean, we're
Do
looking
you
at the player numbers hovering around 150, 200,000. It's like the data center can obviously support it because it was supporting 1 million players at launch. So there's definitely infrastructure in place to handle that many players, especially with all the bots being gone. I think it's time to merge the data centers to do together in Europe. And actually, if I'm honest,
A?
um,
NA?
yeah, I think because it's not just NA that's split between two data centers, but EU and NA are split between two data centers. I think if they consolidate one, it makes sense to consolidate the other, and I think that would be great for the game as well. I mean, I there's people that I want to play with that play on NA East, and I can't play with them. And if you merge everything together, I mean, I just think that would just be the coolest thing, is to make it one data center. But
I
yeah,
agree. It also gives more people. They have to fix the party finder system first, but other
yeah,
than that, after that, I think having more people to play in faster queues, faster not faster queues, like yeah, faster queues into like party finder, duty finder, whatever you want to call it,
better
in the
economy too.
game.
Think about more
Better,
accessories on the marketplace when you have everybody using one marketplace together.
exactly. So yeah, I want a server merge so I can play with my friends in the NA East. So I mean that's just something I want, but also the numbers to have more people make it feel more alive,
Yeah, more like
making
an
it.
MMO. Totally agree.
Hmm.
Yeah, it'd be cool too because I heard a couple people talking about like, well, what about the names of my characters and stuff like that? And I was like, no, no, no,
Never
no,
got a
no. You just transfer the server between the data centers. Everybody would keep their names, everybody would keep their progress, their rosters, their guilds, everything. It's just that the server would be on a different data center so that when you go to Party Finder and when you use the auction house, it's just a bigger pool of players to play with. So
I I think what if you join a raid with this guy with the same name? I think they would have to do something with the name change. So whoever made it first gets to keep it, and someone has to change it, stuff like that. But I get it. But there'll be some problems. But
yeah,
I feel like something they got to do eventually.
yeah, I think so too. All right, the next thing that we can talk about here is the jukebox that was added to the stronghold. Have you checked that out at all yet?
I did the quest for it, and then I never touched it again
Okay.
because I don't find this music in this game memorable at all.
And I just couldn't disagree with you more. I just absolutely love the music in this game.
Mm.
I think it's fantastic. I'm
Compared to what I'm
super
used to,
excited for the
I don't.
jukebox. Man, I love
I
it. I
don't.
think,
I don't even know. I've done Vicus and Routen so many times. I don't remember what music. If you play the music right now, I wouldn't recognize it.
oh man, I feel exactly the opposite. I totally know the music for both of those raids. I think it's great music. I think it's cool that I can play it at my stronghold. It's something else to collect. You go around the world, finding all of the songs that you can play in your stronghold, and I love it. I think it's so cool. I'm super excited for future stronghold changes where you can like just more community stuff with getting players in strongholds and then being able to control the music and play music in there for everybody. It's awesome. I love it.
It's so strange. We're both big music people, and we like Chrono Trigger is one of my favorite soundtracks
So,
of all
well, I
time.
mean, it's the greatest game
Um,
of all time. So
yeah, okay, I know, I'll go 1 and 2 with Final Fantasy Tactics or 6, but you know, well,
fair enough.
that's apples and oranges. Okay,
Fair enough.
but I just feel like the music in this game just doesn't stick with me. You know how I play Final Fantasy 14. I can know every extreme raid trial, all the music in every fight. If you play it right now, I can name the trial and who's you're fighting in. But this game, I just don't feel it because
It's
everything
so
maybe
funny.
14 so like all the tracks are so unique that
I
they make an
am
impact.
I am almost
But
entirely the opposite. I could
Mhm.
not tell you any music in Final Fantasy 14 for which trial it is, except for one, and it's the fight in Stormblood where you fight.
I know.
It's like a very Indian theme. You know which one I'm talking
Oh yeah,
about?
yes, yeah.
That,
What's her name? Lakshmi.
Lakshmi, yeah. That fight has incredibly unique music. It's super good too. I'm not saying it's not or it's not good. It's incredible soundtrack. That's an amazing fight. Very cool. But for me, it's sort of generic Final Fantasy music. I don't think the tracks are like distinguishable for me. Um,
I disagree, but
but man, I think the music in Lost Ark is as good as the Final Fantasy 14 music. I'm not gonna say it's better, but I think it's very very good. I love the music in this game.
like I said, I couldn't tell you any music in this game.
Fine, that's fair. All right, the next thing to talk about. We finally have booba skins.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
go. Let's go. Okay, so
Oh my god, I said
real quick, before you get into it, because I'm going to let you take the floor on this one because you are a major, major coomer. But the first, the first thing to be said is there are two sets that got added, not just one set. One
three.
of the sets is three sets. The one of the sets from last year's Korea summer skins are dyeable, which is huge. I wish they were all dyeable, but the older ones aren't. However, that newer set is dyeable, which is big, and we got multiple sets. Super cool. I have not bought a single one, but Kioma, talk to me about the booba skins.
I spent about $150 on Royal Crystals
Let's go. Let's
on
go.
Wednesday. So I bought so I bought the new skins from my main, which is a gunslinger.
Yeah,
And I dyed it and it looks great.
awesome.
I bought a skin for the older skins, the lover skins, I think,
Mm-hmm.
for my might be the youth one for my Glavier. I
Right.
just wanted it on a martial artist because it looks really good on martial artists. Just gonna throw that out there.
I know
And I
your
bought
Jund Lancer is in a bathing suit too.
my paladin is in a
Oh,
speedo
okay, gotcha. In a
with a
speed.
dolphin
Okay.
with a dolphin sword, and it's
Yes.
hilarious. I love that skin. I don't know what it's so good. And then I bought two extra skins just to have to sell in the future if I need gold, some like gold stuff like that.
Yeah,
Uh, so hopefully it'll go up in price. Right now I think it's like 15K, 14K to buy
that's
it
pretty
straight
good.
up for gold. But I'm gonna hold it for now. But yeah, they're so good too. The dye colors in the main one you can dye. There's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah,
All the dyes look awesome. There's five different skins in that you could pick from.
yeah.
So it gives you choice. The older skins will look good too, so I have some of those if I wanted to buy them. But yeah, I spent $150 worth of Royal Crystals in the past
I love it.
week.
I have seen so many players running around with those skins. I mean, I love it. Like even if it's not something that I'm particularly like super excited about, I've said multiple times anytime they add new skins, I'm always about it. I'm always excited for it. I love when other players are super excited for adding skins. The more people that want to have those skins, the better, I think. It's fantastic. I love it. I'm thinking about I might pick up one of the sets for like one of my characters, just buying off the auction house, like using gold to do it. But I love it. I
The
think it's fantastic.
one other thing, the new background they give you for the big expensive pack is
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, that one's
The
super cool.
the
That
summer
beach thing.
sunset.
Yeah, that's
It
cool.
also makes your characters, the female characters, like they lay down on the thing and they just show off stuff.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
I'll go with that.
yeah. Coomers rejoice for
Yeah,
sure,
Kumars Rejoice.
for sure.
I like it. I love it. But
I'm
yeah, we're a
always gonna still.
Speedo on my I'm both sexes. So Speedo on my paladin is hilarious
I
with
love
the
it.
black with the pixel shades you got from the Twitch drops
Yep, yep.
and the dolphin sword. It looks so fun.
Love it. Love it.
Always a fan of more skins.
All right, another thing to purchase with this new patch is the purchasable power passes. So you can buy a power pass, and this is for new accounts too, where you can buy a power pass that can take you all the way up to Punica on your first character ever playing the game. And
It is very expensive though.
it is very expensive, about $50. But then if you kind of think about it in the way of like a AAA priced game is, 60, 50, 60, $70 at this point. Basically what you're doing is you're buying a character that's that combined with the Hyper Express Pass, you can basically download the game, put in $50, and you have a character at $13.70. So you'll be able to hop in with your friends and do Argos, do Areha hard mode. It'll be a short distance from that first Legion raid just by hopping in and spending $50. Now, I agree it's expensive. It may be too expensive. I'm not trying to defend the pricing at all. But what I am going to defend is I love that is in the game. I love that there is a Punica Pass that's in the game for free right now. I love that there's a Hyper Express that takes you to 1370. I love that they just gave us a boatload of honing changes. I love that they gave us purchasable power passes. All of these things are great and giving options for new players to get into the game and get pushed up to where they can play with their friends. Maybe it's too expensive, yes, but I love seeing this in the game. I think it's a huge thing. I think it probably should have even been in the game sooner, but I think it's fantastic. I'm all about it.
I agree. Yeah. Sure. I think it's like $55, something like that. It's like 5,500 royal crystals.
Yeah, but you can also do like you could go to Phaeton if you wanted to save a few bucks and then do the end of that, or even with the honing changes at this point, like you really could probably just fly through tier 1 and tier 2 at this point on a new account. I mean, I haven't tried it yet, but I can't imagine you would do anything but just zoom through it. So at least there's an option though. At least there's an option.
At least there's an option, and people who want a new character can spend $55 to get an alt up to that quick if they want to.
Right.
So that's always an option, like a low paying slave.
Yeah, right.
Always an option. Get the silver there from there, which you need a lot of because you're honing everybody. But yes.
All right, so that's pretty much all of the patch notes here. There were a couple quality of life changes in there as well, but for the most part, those are all of the features of the patch. And the other thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit here is since this patch and getting all these characters to 1370, and maybe you've already touched on it a little bit, but I kind of want to dig into it a little bit more. I feel like you really get to play the character kind of how you want to be playing the character. When you get them to 1370, you start gearing them out in those legendary accessories. So are there any classes that have really jumped out to you where like, wow, this is way more fun than I thought it was going to be? It sounds like Gunlancer, but are there any classes where you're like, man, it turns out I'm just not really a huge fan of this class the more that I play it?
See, I'm the opposite with you for Glavier. I enjoy it, but I haven't done any like hard content with it. I assume because it's all like back attack, right? So that's something you have to get used to. Like all their attacks are back attacks, so that's something. But I really, like I said, I really enjoy Gunlancer. I want to be the Chad Lancer who doesn't care about mechanics, just shields everything.
Yeah,
I want to be one of those guys.
So my experience has been the two classes that I got to 1370. I already had Striker and Deathblade there, and I love both of those classes. I think they're so fun to play. And then Glavier, man, I can't stand it. It's just, I guess it's not for me. Did you go Control or Pinnacle on your?
Pinnacle.
Yeah, I went Pinnacle too, and I thought I kind of feel like on most classes your specialization gauge really is supposed to deliver like a knockout punch. It's supposed to be a big thing. You land that big surge. It's like huge damage. My Shadow Hunter goes into demon form. My Berserker, if you're going Berserker's technique, you get the Berserk mode. It's like it feels like a big thing that allows you to just like have a huge payoff. And I feel like Glavier, it's like I almost feel like my character is weaker when I switch over to those red skills. And it's like you have two attacks that are decent, And then you're just sitting there like, okay, well, let me get back to my blue skills. And you switch over your blue skills. It's like I'm swapping stances so quickly. I can't see the cooldown timers from the other skills. So sometimes I swap too early, or I don't know if I'm swapping too late because I can't see the timers. My damage feels terrible, even with 4x3 accessories. The class feels clunky to me. I'm finding it is not the class for me. And when Scouter gets released, I am most likely dropping Glavier for the Scouter.
You know what class you switch stances a lot, and it doesn't really affect your damage?
I'm
Gunslinger.
assuming Gunslinger.
So I'm kind of used to it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
so I don't mind it that much. It's just another stance with more skills. So
Yeah.
that's to me.
I thought
But
I was gonna like it because you got all those additional skills, and I was like, man, this is gonna feel good. But
yeah, you
I
only, you
don't
only use
I don't
them.
feel like it. I like I don't know. It just doesn't feel like I'm landing like a big impactful skill kind of ever on that class.
You don't like the charged lance that you throw? That's pretty cool.
It's like it's all right. It does pretty. It's like her highest damaging skill, but it doesn't feel as good as landing like a perfect swing or a full
Mm,
swing or whatever the hell it's called. Which leads me to
sure.
Destroyer is awesome. It is such a shame that the whole Phaeton power pass with people using it on a main character and losing that power pass and stuff happened. What was it, 2 months ago now or something like that? But I used mine on a destroyer, and I got my destroyer now all the way up to 1370. And this class is a blast to play, man. It is so
Both in
fun.
raids and
It's like a
both in raids and
combination a
chaos
little bit.
dungeon,
What's that?
and chaos dungeon and raids.
Oh yeah, Chaos Dungeons are fine on any class. I kind of feel like I really like the Guardians and Raids is kind of where I really base like the fun of a class on. And Destroyer is so fun. I mean, it's sort of similar to Gunlancer too, where you're like in the face of the boss, and your big skills are shielding you, so you can basically take hits from the boss. It's like intended that you take hits from the boss, but the stagger is like out of this world ridiculous. Taunt is awesome for skipping a mechanic, and then you charge up the biggest, most impactful hits, like maybe in the entire game with the destroyer, and the damage reflects those hits. It's so satisfying to play. Yes, you move around incredibly slow. I mean, there's no doubt about it. As it sounds like Gunlancer is very similar. But when you land those big hits on Destroyer, it feels so good, man. I love the class. It's become one of my favorite classes. I'm excited to gear it out, continue playing it. It's awesome.
I'll eventually try. Maybe I'll try it. I don't know. I don't. I'm saving my sixth slot for like I don't know. I don't know. Reaper maybe
Well, that's a perfect
or
segue into the
Aeromancer. Aeromancer looks
that's a
fun.
perfect segue into the last thing I wanted to talk about. So we'll just go straight into it. What are you going to do kind of with future classes moving forward? So I think a lot of people are sort of filling out their roster right now, but it doesn't feel like you need more than 6 characters ever in this game. So are you saving another slot or 2 slots for a future class? Like, what future class are you really excited for?
I think I am gonna save it for the future class. Reaper or Scatter looks fun. I like the whole futuristic robot tech
Yeah.
thing they were going with. Reaper looks fun. I don't know if I've seen some people play it. Summer, it depends on how good it does. I do like pet classes sometimes.
Okay.
So I don't. If it does good damage and it's fun, I might try that. I don't think I'm gonna get another support, so artist doesn't really do it for me. I have Paladin at 1430 now, and I've done Vicus on it. That was super fun.
Cool.
Um, but Aeromancer, I think the newest class in Korea was Aeromancer.
Right.
That looks really fun, and I want to play that.
Yeah, I think that looks
So
cool too, but
that
I
takes
I
so long
already
to get
know
here.
we're so far out on that character that I'm not really even it's not really even on my radar right now. Yeah, I'm also not super interested in artist. I already have a support, and I'm not even really a huge fan of playing support in this game, and artist just really doesn't do it for me. So it kind of comes down to um, when I drop that Glavier, it's either Summoner, which does nothing for me. So it kind of comes down to Reaper and Scouter. I think both classes look super fun from what I've seen. I want to play them both to kind of like gauge how much I like them. But I think mostly I'm leaning towards Scouter just because I love the Iron Man spec. What's up, Arca? I love the Iron Man spec and the idea behind it. I think it's got some really flashy, cool skills. So I definitely am excited to check that out in the future.
But yeah, maybe Aeromancer whenever that comes out looks super fun. I watch watching Azils play it.
So speaking of things to come, I think the last thing that I wanted to touch on here before we go is we are a week away from August, and we don't have a roadmap yet. So I think maybe this week, but most likely next week, I'm expecting the next roadmap to pop out for the game. And I'll be honest, from what I know about Lost Ark and knew about Lost Ark kind of around release and watching streamers play and stuff, up to this point, I sort of knew what we were getting. And then we are kind of at the point where I'm not really even sure what comes next. I know that Elgatia comes eventually, but that's not going to be for a while. That's like the end of kind of the current story. And then I do know that we have Kakul Sadon and we have Belshazzar raids coming in the future. And then obviously the hell modes for Vicus and for Kakul Sadon will be coming as well. But outside of that, I'm not really sure what's going to be on the roadmap here. But I kind of want to get your thoughts. What do you think is coming soon? I think we'll probably see a Kakul Sadon announcement, not for August, but probably for September is kind of my thinking.
Definitely September. I don't think they'd do it right a month after. Well,
Yeah,
I guess when Icon came out was like early July, right?
yeah, that's true. It was about a month ago, I think. Yeah, I think about a month
I think
ago.
they want to give people time to catch up to like hard months and stuff.
Yeah,
I
I think
think
so
it'll come
too.
out September, and then maybe Brashaz in like December.
And
Or
so my
and
hope
then,
is maybe an announcement of a roadmap for getting us caught up to Korea. I had to say
I
it.
mean,
I couldn't go
we
the
are
whole
we
podcast
are
without saying
going
it.
really fast, in my opinion. I'm
I
not sure how
agree.
fast we got there, but we are going
We're
really fast.
flying. We're flying.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to see
What-
Belshazzar probably October, maybe November, before the end of the year. I'm hoping before the end of the year we'll see Belshazzar, and
mhm.
that's gonna be big because that'll get us to ancient gear, and then once we get to ancient gear, we'll get to the high
Well,
end gear scores will be 1600. Will be kind of the cap there. The soft cap will be about
isn't
1600, and
isn't
that'll be where Korea
1560
is.
the isn't 1560 the highest like raid requirement in Korea right now?
The highest raid requirement is either 1560 or 1580. I think
80.
I think it's the Akan Raid that's coming is going to be
Yeah.
1580. So
Okay,
I
so
think the
yeah,
current cap is 1560. I
1560.
think that's right.
Which not yeah, we're not too far from that. So maybe we'll catch up fast sooner than later. So hopefully, I mean,
Yeah,
fingers
and it
crossed.
is interesting too that in the Korean side, to just hop over there just for 1 minute here before we go, is obviously the main story sort of finishes with the Algacia storyline. And yeah, we have the Akan raid coming here with like a 1580 requirement. And it does make you wonder sort of what is the next thing going to be because I'm assuming that at some point here in the not too distant future, we're going to have an announcement of like some new gear tier that's going to take us into the 16, maybe even 1700 gear score. I'm expecting, Thamine is the last Legion raid after Akan. I'm assuming because he's the last
Yeah,
Guardian or whatever they're called,
Legion General.
Legion General. He's the last Legion General. And the storyline is completed. So I'm kind of expecting here with Loa on in the fall or winter, whenever it is. I'm assuming that's going to be when they're going to announce kind of the next major roadmap and piece of Lost Ark moving forward. And man, I'm just hopeful that they mention NA Global at some point in that Loa on when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, excited. There. I think it's gonna be instead of darkness raids, it's gonna be light raids. So you want to be the.
Yeah,
So that's why there people want you want
people
to farm
want
the
the
dark
Legion
card.
Guardian set or
Hmm.
Legion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. I'm not 100% invested in the story, which is fine, but
yeah.
maybe they'll add more. They do. I know the story in Korea is closing close, and what's gonna happen afterwards is gonna be interesting. Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna go to a new world,
That's
like
kind of
new
what I'm thinking
content,
is
stuff like that.
maybe the next stepping stone, like Final Fantasy 14 with the Shadowbringers expansion, where we kind of went into like an alternate world. I can
Hmm.
see Lost Ark doing something like that, where we'll be sailing in new seas to new continents and new islands.
Islands,
It
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me if we saw a massive sort of almost like an expansion.
Expansion, yeah.
Yeah, almost like an expansion
But
to
Korea
Lost
never
Ark.
had that, right? They just kept updating the same
They
base game, right?
right,
So
exactly right. I mean, they have seasons, right? There was like season 1 and then we're currently in season 2 and season 2 is where they like really revamped the game and like tier 3 was a thing and they've been in tier 3 for like years now, and
Yeah.
kind of the it wouldn't surprise me if there was like a season 3 coming with like a new continent and new gear and like all that kind of, almost like we said, like almost like an expansion. So I think that's likely going to be announced later this year, or at least I'm hopeful that something like that is announced later this year.
Yeah. But yeah.
All right, so I think we're about at our time here. Is there anything else that you wanted to say here before we go?
I had something early, but I lost it. So no, I'm good. This is
Save
good
it
talk.
for save it for next time. All right, so hopefully we have a new roadmap to talk about next time. We'll catch you guys in a couple weeks here, and I hope you guys are all enjoying Lost Ark. Kiyoma, where can people find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Koryu87. I stream random shit.
Mostly Pokemon.
I only stream it because I wanted my run to be recorded. It's on Pokemon Kaizo. I don't think you. I've tried to explain it to you, but
Yeah.
it's fun. I'm waiting for the 6.2 patch for Final Fantasy because that's
Yeah.
gonna be a big one. New raids, new story, everything. So I'll
Cool.
probably stream a little bit of that, hopefully. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I play Valorant. I stream Valorant sometimes, but not really.
Right on.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can find me over at Twitch at Cyrus the Great 99. I've been streaming a little bit of Call of Duty Warzone lately. Play that with my girlfriend still. Super excited about Warzone 2 coming out. I'll probably be streaming that a lot at that point.
Oh, really? I didn't even hear about that.
Oh yeah, Warzone 2 comes out in December, I think, November, December.
Okay.
So
Maybe
that'll
I'll
be
come back
pretty
to it.
fun.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably start streaming a little more Lost Ark, especially once I start doing Hell Mode Prog. I definitely want to be streaming when I'm doing Hell Mode Prog then. So as soon as I get into that, I'll probably be streaming more there. And then obviously the Lost Ark podcast can be found on YouTube at Cyrus the Great. Just search for that or search for Lost Arkuments and it'll pop up and you can see all the latest episodes. So if you are listening to this podcast, just know that there is a video version over on YouTube. You can watch our beautiful faces as we talk about Lost Ark. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget all the podcasts are made available anywhere you can find podcasts if you want to listen in the car, at the gym, or something like that. So that's going to do it for us. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Thanks for checking us out.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Peace. Have a good one.
Peace.